Welcome to the official podcast at contentchampion.com. Join us to learn proven strategies from the web's most successful content marketing experts. Introducing your host, the content champion himself, Loz James.
Hi guys, welcome to session 13 of the Content Champion podcast. On the show this time, it's my pleasure to be speaking with Steve Scott of stevescottsite.com. Not about his affiliate marketing, but about the fact he's a best-selling ebook author on the Amazon Kindle platform. Steve's so successful, he regularly makes between $7,000 and $9,000 a month writing and selling Kindle ebooks. Now, as a writer, I found what he had to say very interesting, and I'm sure you will too. So let's get to it. Thanks very much for coming on, Steve.
Thanks for having me on.
Now, we're going to talk about building a business writing ebooks for the Amazon Kindle platform today. But before we dig into that, could you tell us how you got started online, please? As I know you also run a very popular affiliate marketing blog.
I got started online I'd say about a decade ago, but for kind of like what other people go through the first couple of years, I didn't really know what I was doing. It really didn't get going until I'd say middle of the 2005 is when it went full time. From that point up until maybe 2 years ago, all I really did was affiliate marketing and email list building. And then a couple of years back, I started the Steve Scott site blog. The actual original reason I got into Kindle ebooks is to actually get more traffic to my blog. I didn't actually look at it or even think it was possible to really actually make any money with Kindle books. Instead, I just wanted to kind of repurpose some old blog posts, put them together, and hopefully get some more visitors to my website. And that was about a year ago. And after the first couple of books didn't really do so well, by the third or fourth book, they actually started taking off and making a decent income. So about a year or so ago, I made a decision to pretty much go full-time writing Kindle books and either writing Kindle books full-time and doing other stuff to support the Kindle books. But so it's been about a year or so since I started, and it's been pretty much, in my opinion, a great year.
So you've got now around 35 books and you're a best-selling author on the Amazon Kindle platform. Now your 100% focus is on writing Kindle ebooks.
It's become a significant part of it. I'm actually starting a brand new website about habit development, so that's the primary income source, but I'm trying to diversify in other things. But yeah, I found that the Kindle books is a natural kind of bridge between writing content for a blog or for any other website and actually generating income from it. Whereas in the past, you used to have to find advertising, make affiliate marketing recommendations, or create information products or do consulting. I find Kindle books is a way to actually pretty much monetize any type of platform that you have.
So looking at income levels, obviously you don't have to give me any figures, but compared to your affiliate marketing, how does the income from Kindle ebooks stack up?
I generate anywhere from $7,000 to $9,000 a month, so it's not quite at the level of what my affiliate marketing income is, but it's progressively getting to that point. Right,
my ears just pricked up. You're making $7,000 to $9,000 a month from your Kindle ebooks.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark. Obviously, it really depends on the month that I have, and just sometimes, I guess, which we'll go into later, but sometimes books kind of book sales atrophy over time, but yeah, generally about that figure.
That's amazing, Steve. You must be really proud of that within, just a year.
Yeah, I was generally surprised. Trust me, I'm pretty happy. It's one of those things where really hard work paid off.
Sure. Okay, we'll get into all of this. We'll delve down into all these subject matters as we go through the course of the interview. But let's back up a bit. Some of the people listening might not know that much about the Amazon Kindle platform and the benefits it offers to writers, apart from earning $9,000 a month. What background can you give us on the whole Amazon Kindle platform and for writers who want to start a business there?
Basically, Amazon started as kind of obviously another income opportunity. I guess what they figured is that instead of just letting traditional publishing have pretty much all the space on their platform, they decided to open the door and let anyone publish whatever they want. Obviously, that's generated the point where there's lots of people writing about pretty much everything, so it's pretty crowded. But within a day or so, you could write a book, put it on Amazon, even in Word format, and have it basically ready for the world to buy. Yeah, so you can basically find a topic that you're interested in. It could be fiction, nonfiction, or basically whatever you want. I obviously suggest that you should probably do a little research beforehand and kind of find out what people are buying. But you can publish on Amazon in Word format and have people ready to read it.
Okay, so you mentioned that your first couple of books were not as successful as you'd hoped because I think you mentioned on another podcast that something I read that the feedback on them was that perhaps they were too general. So now you focus on specific niche subjects. How do you go about choosing those subjects?
It was kind of easy for the internet business stuff because it's kind of like it's what I've been doing for the last couple of years, so I just kind of know internally which topics people will buy. But when I first got started, I kind of just looked at every single book that was available for internet business or Kindle publishing, anything that I had some level of expertise with, and I would just look at every one of their sales ranking, and that's basically Amazon gives you a metrical number for how your books compare to everyone else. So obviously the lower of the ranking, the lower that means, the more sales that means the book gets. And my litmus test was 20,000, which equates to about 5 book sales a day, which is about $10 profit. And I figured if I had a bunch of smaller books that made about $10 a day, that would be definitely a doable business model. So I would just go from book to book, and if I could find a couple of similar books or books that have on similar topics with that ranking, I would write a book about that particular topic. And I did that for a bunch of them now. And then after I kind of got away from them with the internet business one, I just wrote the stuff that I thought was more important to my audience than actual sales ranking. But now I'm kind of back into the habits market, building something new. I'm definitely taking a look at the sales ranking of a particular topic.
And I understand you base the structure of the ebooks on common questions that your potential audience might ask. How do you go about researching those questions that feed into making that framework?
Again, I'll give you kind of a two-part answer. With the first one, I just literally wrote what I know about the subject. So it's kind of easy when you're familiar with the topic and people send you emails all the time asking certain questions, you tend to internalize it. So I'll spend like a couple of days writing down every possible thought or email I've ever had about that particular topic, and kind of look at my old blog posts, see what people ask questions in the comment section, stuff like that. But with the habits market, I definitely do some research now where I download a couple of the other books, see kind of what they're talking about. I'll look at the customer comments of those particular books, see if what questions were left unanswered, what people, to be honest, the 1-star reviews, what people were unhappy about that book that it didn't cover. I looked at the 5-star reviews, see what people were happy about that book. Kind of did some Google keyword searches, look around, see kind of what type of content's out there. And that's kind of more for just internalizing, figuring out what people want, and then I'll just go write down kind of in a note form, write down everything I know about that topic, and after kind of the couple drafts, the book starts to take shape.
So this is like reverse engineering, which is a common theme running through a lot of these podcasts. I was interviewing some link builders, and they reverse engineer their competitors' links. So we're really, to find our niche subject matter for each ebook, we're reverse engineering what our competitors are doing. Yeah,
pretty much. I try my hardest to be better than what's out there, but like obviously some people might disagree. Yeah, so I try to do that, but I also try to give stuff that's not really written in other books as well.
So let's imagine you're sitting at your desk, you've got your basic framework, you've done all your research. What productivity tips do you have in terms of actually fleshing out your books? Now, I purchased one of your ebooks that actually covered this, How to Write 2,000 Words a Day, which I recommend. But what's the sort of process you go through in a nutshell?
Basically, first thing I get up in the morning, I'll do a quick morning routine, which is kind of gives me energy, wakes me up to the point where I'm like ready to go within like 20 minutes. And then before opening email, before pretty much doing anything else, I write for at least an hour. Sometimes it's up to 2 hours. So
the discipline.
Yeah, it sucks, and I hate it. I can't emphasize how much I dislike writing in the morning. But I found that's the best way to get a lot of it done. And then you don't have any excuse throughout the day. It's not like something comes up at work and you don't have time to write. You actually get it done first thing in the morning. Now, I'll admit it's a little easier for me because I do work from home now, so it's not like I have to deal with a 9-to-5 job. So if you work full time and you're trying to balance a business on the side, it's definitely difficult. But if you can stomach it, try getting up an hour before you go to work or wake the kids up or whatnot. That's a major part of it. And a second productivity thing that I do is time blocking, specifically something called the Pomodoro technique, where you do something intensely for 25 minutes and then take 5 minutes off and then kind of repeat that cycle. I basically run my entire life off of the Pomodoro technique, where I'm whenever that the clock is ticking, I'm fully focused on the exact task that I'm doing.
So this is like you turn off your email, turn off the phone. In my case, it would be lock the door to the office so the kids don't come in, and just write for half an hour. Because this is a great strategy.
It does teach you, like you said, discipline. It's just it's hard to do it at first, and you'll probably hate life after the first couple go-arounds. But I found that really you can get a lot done when you're not being interrupted, or you're not interrupting yourself checking Facebook.
Because if I've got a big write, like if I'm writing for a client and I've got to write, a 50-page website or something, if I don't do exactly what you said in the morning and get the bulk of it done earlier in the day, it's very, very hard to catch up with yourself, isn't it, throughout the day? Yeah,
exactly. And it's some quote about like the work that you do will fit the time that you give it. I'm butchering whatever quote this, but basically the idea there is if you give yourself all this time in the world to get stuff done, you tend to actually not get stuff done.
Yeah.
But if you have a clock ticking and you're always looking at the ticking clock, it's a reminder that you better finish what you started and you better work on it and not goof off doing other things.
So you've got each of your questions as your structure, and you spend half an hour fleshing out each one of these questions, so you've got some framework chapters and then go back in and rewrite those?
Actually, what I do is it actually takes about a couple of days to do this. I guess the first thing I do is I'll just get out just a couple piece of paper. I don't even go near my laptop. I just get a piece of paper, right at the top, kind of what I want the book to sort of be about, and everything I could possibly think about, even if it has nothing, even if I don't think it might make it in the final book, I'll just write it down, just one big massive brain dump. And then I'll take a set of index cards, about 10 to 12 of them, and I'll kind of look at the notes, figure out where I want my chapters to be, kind of what major chapters I want, and I'll just write on the white side of the index card. So on the front of the white index card, like the non-line part of the index cards, I'll write basically the chapter. Sometimes I'll turn them into questions about, like, what is this? What is that? Next, I'll take about 3-4 index cards, write about sub-chapters kind of within that internal part of that section. What do I kind of want to flesh out? And the back of each one of those index cards, I write about 3 or 4 talking points. I kind of mix the index cards up, look through them once or twice, figure out if there's anything that really isn't that relevant, cross it off of it, or add it to another section. And I'll take all that and then create a rough draft. And by the time the rough draft is done, the book's there, and it's just a simple matter of kind of tweaking everything and cleaning up the language.
That's fascinating, because that's what I've written a book, and I write sort of short film screenplays, and that's a similar sort of drafting technique that you'd use for writing a fiction plot or something like that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's very, very similar. I've done use cards for marking down plot points and then working out where they all fit together. So it's quite a visual way of doing it, isn't it? Because you've physically got these cards and you can see how it fits together more coherently.
Yeah, definitely. And I've done it the other way, where I just try to look at the white screen of death with the cursor blinking. And that's like, you never want to give yourself nothing to write. You always want to have, even if you have something written below what you're going to write, it kind of acts as a prompt where you can continue working on the draft. Even if the text is garbage, at least you're making forward momentum. But yeah, the card thing really, that was, I forgot where I read it, but I wish I could remember the blogger and thank him. But yeah, it's been pretty much a game changer for my ability to get a lot of word counts done in a day.
That's a great productivity tip. Okay, so we've finished our book. We're happy with it. We've finessed it. How do we know when to finish writing? Is there an optimum length for these type of books?
I try to shoot somewhere between 15 to 20,000 words. Looking at most of the $2.99 books on Amazon Kindle, that's about maybe 80 to 100 pages, give or take. I've seen books with a lot less that sell well. I've seen books with a lot more text that sell well. So I guess somewhere, if you could find somewhere around the 15,000 word mark, I think most people would be pretty happy if it's good content.
Okay, and how long would that take to write?
Generally 3 to 4 weeks, give or take.
You're writing potentially 12 of these a year?
Yeah, I would say you can crank out anywhere from like 12 to 15 books a year doing it. I would say 15, 20 hours a week.
So we've got to the stage where we're ready to proofread the book. Do you do that yourself or get someone you trust involved? Perhaps a friend?
That's one thing I learned the hard way from bad reviews you definitely want to do. I actually pay for, you mentioned about having a friend proofread. I actually pay an editor now, and I recommend anyone listening to do the same. It's an investment of about $100 to $150, but it's well worth it because an editor is much better than you will get with a friend because they actually know syntax, grammar, what's not working. They can really clean up and make your book really good.
And then how do you go about formatting the book?
I kind of do it ghetto style. I actually just write it in Word, and I've learned from kind of formatting errors when I see it on my end on my iPhone when I look at the Kindle book, how to do certain things. Like for some weird reason, you can't do bullet points in Kindle, so I just kind of do a couple of asterisks to act as a bullet point. But for the most part, I just write it in Word. It looks pretty good on my end. I think it's Tom Corson Knowles has a pretty decent formatting book for Kindle, and that's whenever anyone email me, so I recommend that one. That's for people who really don't want to get into the too much of a technical side of formatting. Now, with that said, there's Scrivener, which is a great tool that I know a lot of people use. I just haven't, for some stupid reason, taken the time to actually download and use it. But I know a lot of full-time writers use Scrivener. I love Scrivener. So
this formats it, does it?
You write it, it does all the format, and it exports it into all the different files that you could publish on various ebook platforms. Specifically, it outputs into a Mobi file, which is what Amazon uses for their platform.
And what about pictures? It just occurs to me, you don't put pictures in ebooks like this?
I have, and that's actually why I picked up that Tom Corson Knowles book I just mentioned. You can add pictures. It's just with the file size of book, you want to be very careful about how you're actually going about it. So one suggestion that I followed from that ebook I just mentioned is basically there's a compression software tool. I think it's called InfriendView, but it actually compresses the files so you're not dealing with a large file size for a book. The reason you want to do that is because if you go over a certain file size, Amazon charges you more money for people downloading that book. So it can really eat up your commission rate for your book sales. Now, that really won't be a problem if you have a couple of pictures. That won't really be a big deal, but really can be a big problem if you're, say, writing a picture book or something along those lines.
So we're predominantly text-based, really.
Yeah, I found if something really can't be explained with the text, I'll just create a screen cap and I'll just provide a link to it in the book and say, if you want to see what this looks like, click this link. I've had negative reviews before, but I've never had someone comment on my lack of pictures in the book. So you can get away with explaining a lot, and if you need to, you can create a video or an image and just link to it directly from the book.
Okay, so moving on to coming up with a title for your book. How important are these?
I think they're pretty important. I've been kind of lazy with titles lately, but when I first started publishing, I really sat down and really focused on making good titles. Now it's been a good hour trying to find the perfect title. But you said you're a copywriter, so obviously you know the whole write like 50 headlines, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I would recommend following the same routine where if you want to emphasize a keyword, that's the first thing that should be written down. Like, for instance, you mentioned write 2,000 words. I wanted specifically to have write 2,000 words in the actual headline of the book. So you just kind of play around with different headlines. And I actually have a cheat sheet of different copywriting headlines. I have like literally an entire book full of different things that I've downloaded over the couple of years. And I just kind of look at that and see how I can fit that particular keyword into the headline and other types of, actionable benefits. You want to figure out the exact benefit that you're giving to your reader and try to work around a title from that. But it's like you would do with any copyright headline. You want to write down 50 headlines. So you want to pick and choose from the ones that you like and to craft the one that really stands out.
And how do you get your covers made? I understand you're going to freelance sites like Elance.
I really, honestly, I like the covers. I think the covers I have really helped me stand out. I would like to say I did something awesomely special to get him. I just found him on Elance and I got lucky. I just found one really good guy. But specifically what we do is I'll give him a concept of the book. I'll kind of give him a working title. And him and I will go to iStock Photo and kind of bounce around some different vector graphics. And then he kind of explains what type of way he wants to go with it. And then we work out basically a look, and he does basically all the hard work. But yeah, I tend to use vector graphics, which has kind of a cartoony look to the Kindle books. But I feel it kind of makes it stand out when compared to people that just do like a quick iStock photo of someone petting a dog or something like that with a really bad font. And that's honestly what you see on Kindle platforms 80% of the time is people just create these covers that look god-awful. And I honestly think it really impacts their sales. Like they could have the greatest book under the sun, but most people won't buy it because it looks amateur.
So they say never judge a book by its cover, but the inverse is true when you're selling Kindle ebooks.
I wholeheartedly believe that, and I think people do judge a book by its cover, and you have to remember you are competing on some form against people who are traditionally published, who do have a marketing department and a graphics department that make really nice looking book covers. So you have to have your book stand out compared to those people.
Well, that's a great tip, actually, because you can set yourself apart there and then. If most people are doing trashy looking covers, if you spend a bit of time and or money on that and get a good designer, you can instantly have these pop out designs that really get people's attentions, and obviously that's going to lead to more sales.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got our book all looking shiny and fantastic, all formatted properly with a great title. You mentioned pricing before. $2.99 was a figure mentioned. How does that pan out, and what sort of commissions do Amazon take from your cut, as it were?
Anything above $2.99 or above to the point of $9.99, you get 70% commission rate. So it works out to be $2.10, and then obviously anything under $2.99 is 30%, or anything above $9.99 is 30% as well. So they really try to get you at that $2.99 and above price point. Now, a lot of people recommend above $2.99, say $3.99, $4.99, $5.99. I think that's an effective strategy, and a lot of times people won't really blink at spending $2.99 versus, like, say, $4.99. For me, I like $2.99 because I have a lot of books, and I'd rather someone keep buying my books instead of just making one purchase with me. So I price it at the point where I know I'm getting the best commission rate, but also it's at the cheapest, so people can go out and hopefully buy 6 or 7 books. And I've had lots of people email me and said, "Oh yeah, I read one, and I read 7 of your books after that." So I think it's an effective strategy, just because you're pricing low enough where people making a purchase won't think twice about making more purchases.
And you bundle, when you see people buying similar books together, you bundle them together, don't you?
Yeah, I have one bundle on Kindle publishing and one on internet business. This one is lazy things I know I should do, but I don't. But I haven't really done a bundle in, like, I'd say 6-7 months. But bundling is also a way that you can provide some cost savings to your readers while also giving the same amount of quality content. So say you have 3 $2.99 books, you can bundle them together and charge $4.99 or $5.99, and they're basically getting a book for free with a bundle.
So we've now got the book in our process to the stage where it needs to be uploaded to the Kindle platform. Is this a simple thing to do? What type of file does it need to be in, etc.?
I upload it into a Word document. Again, I'm really low tech about this. I know some people actually convert it into a Mobi file and then upload it, but I think it's Mobi or Word, and I forget some of the other formats that Amazon uses, but you can actually do a Microsoft Word upload and that sort of thing. It's actually not too hard to upload. It takes about 10 minutes, but I actually like to sit down and, again, this comes down to copywriting, sit down and actually write an actionable bullet point driven mini sales page on Amazon. Amazon does let you use a few HTML tags, so basically a header tag, a bolding tag, that sort of thing. So I try to have a 3-part sales description. So basically the introduction, describing the pain, the second part is kind of presenting your book as a possible solution, and then it's just the kind of hard action, what's actually inside the book and what do you get. And then at the very end, a call to action. Pretty much everything you do with the sales page is kind of more for the Amazon platform. And that's usually, I'd say it's about 500 words of text, but it's really a lean, mean text. Like you try to have it really streamlined and focus on what the reader wants.
I'm glad you say it's low tech. I kind of look at it as being straightforward and something that everybody can do, because I think a lot of people look at Kindle ebooks and are turned off doing it because of all these sort of, will I be able to handle the technical aspects? But it's actually quite simple.
Yeah, even when I didn't know a thing, I was able to figure out by looking at the tutorial and upload it within a half hour. And I did that without knowing a thing, and the book came out okay. The formatting wasn't perfect, but it came out sort of okay. But with a little bit of experimentation, I would say if you spend a couple hours working on it, you can actually have a pretty good-looking Kindle book.
You're listening to the Content Champion Podcast, showcasing the best content marketing strategies across the web.
Okay, so I'm imagining my ebook empire growing. I'm getting very excited. The book's published. what sort of strategies are you using to promote your books? You're obviously leveraging your blog, for example. How does that pan out?
I've recently made kind of a decision that there's two groups of people and each involves two different strategies. If you don't have an audience and you really don't have anyone that would be interested in your book, like you're basically starting out on a topic where no one knows you, I would say you definitely want to sign up for the KDP Select program. And what that gives you is it gives you borrows, which if you're selling your book for $2.99, borrows basically act as a sale. So basically you get $2 with each purchase. What KDP Select also gives you is the ability to give away your book for 5 days over a 90-day period. And it might seem counterintuitive, but you can actually, if you submit to basically all the free book sites that are out there, and it's a process that takes like 5-6 hours. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But if you submit to all those free book sites and post in various Facebook groups that have to do with free books, that sort of thing, if you really spend time trying to launch your book or promote your book for a KDP Select launch, you can get a lot of free downloads. And what free downloads give you potentially are reviews, people that might be interested in your other books, that sort of thing. So basically, you're building a platform using Amazon's built-in tools. Now, with that said, if you have a platform already, I would suggest an alternative strategy where you promote it to your blog. If you have other people that you know in your industry, try to get them to promote it as well. And what I found for me is a more effective strategy is launching actually at 99 cents instead of KDP Select. Because if you get a bunch of people buying at a really low price, it shoots your books to the top of the various visibility charts Amazon has. And then when the book switches over to $2.99, that momentum is kept up where people will still be buying your book even at $2.99. I've done that with a couple of my more recent books, and it generates a lot of sales in a short amount of time, and has some carryover effect if you have other books in your catalog.
So are you, as well as that, active on social media, and what other sort of promotion strategies do you use?
Yeah, definitely. If you have a built-in brand, that's ultimately, as a publisher on Amazon, that's the direction you want to go. You want to have social media. You want Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, that sort of thing. The larger of an audience to have, the better your book can do. You can also do lots of social media on there. I'm not the greatest at social media, but I definitely tweet out and put Facebook updates about the book on my accounts. But anything you can do to spread the word about your book will definitely help with sales. And I know there's some of the big time bloggers, they actually do a formal book launch. Well, they'll spend 3-4 months preparing it and doing guest posts and doing everything they can to make sure that their one book really shoots to the top of Amazon. And I think that strategy is brilliant. I just don't really have the time, since I'm kind of publishing every couple of weeks. I don't have time to really do a formal book launch, but that's something that's on my to-do list for the future, is actually really try and make one book, spend a couple months trying to launch one particular book and see what happens with that.
The whole thing seems, just listening to you, traditional publishing companies must be quaking in their boots, because this seems to give authors such freedom to earn a decent income that the old publishing models seem a bit prehistoric.
Yeah. I actually wish I was good at fiction writing, because I feel that there's more opportunity. If you're good at fiction writing, you know how to put together a good story. I think there's more opportunity for those type of people as well. But in regards to traditional publishing, you don't have to pitch anyone. You don't have to have an agent. When all's said and done with the traditionally published book, you basically make the same money that you would with a lower priced Kindle book. Just because it seems like everyone takes their cut out of a $10 book, whereas with $2.99, Amazon takes their cut, and that's it.
So it's kind of a misconception, isn't it? So you think you're getting less, but you're not at all. You're just publishing it in a different way. I think I read about a female American author who writes sort of teen vampire books and has made millions from the Kindle platform.
Amanda Hocking?
Yes. Can anyone be inspired by her example and go on to be a success on the Kindle platform?
I would say yes and no. I think like with any new technology, I think there's early adapters, and I think the early adapters, obviously, they're the ones who really benefit if they were smart about it. So like the Amanda Hockings and John Locke's, I think they were able to do really well because it was a new thing. I think now you kind of have to work harder than they probably did to really stand out. And what I mean by working harder is you basically have to follow a publishing model where you're getting something new out into the marketplace every 3 weeks to 6 weeks, basically cranking out and building an audience. And I think that's I think that's how you can do well in Kindle now. But if you actually are able to get a pretty decent following, you can basically make your own full-time income from it.
You get up to $3,000-$4,000. You can, with hard work, listeners listening into this podcast, they can actually make a livable income from it.
Definitely.
Okay, so we mentioned reviews. The reviews start coming in from the book we've just published. Some are great, and then you get that horrible sinking feeling where someone's left an awful review or whatever. How do you use this feedback to inform what you write in future? And you know, how do you deal with bad reviews? There's kind of a few questions rolled up in there, but I guess reviews are very important.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be the first to admit I made a huge mistake with my first bad review, and I got into a flame war with the guy, and it's really complete childish, dumb behavior on my part. And I still do that. I still cringe when I think about that. The simplest answer is you will get bad reviews. I don't care how good your book is. There will always be someone who doesn't like your book, and it just deal with it's not really the greatest advice, but it kind of is. Someone will come along and write a 1-star review, and it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It's not the place to really argue with them. If you feel that there's some sort of actual factual error, like I'm trying to think of an example, but something where maybe if you want to just correct something really quickly, maybe you could do that. But even then, I would almost say just try to ignore it. But what I do is I do read every negative review or 1 or 2-star review and see if there's an actual pattern there. If it's just someone basically like complaining about something that I really think they're wrong, I'll ignore it. But for instance, if you get 3 or 4 reviews saying the same thing, then maybe where there's smoke, there's fire, and you should address that issue. Specifically for me, I had a couple people that came back and said, hey, this book's full of grammar mistakes, so it doesn't really flow, and that's actually what made me decide, instead of just sending the book to my buddy, I'll actually hire a professional editor. And that's how I made that decision, is basically if I'm having multiple people tell me that something's wrong, I should address this issue immediately. And actually I did reply back to the few people who left that comment, and I basically apologized. I said, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong. I didn't get this edited. The book's been edited now, and I fixed my mistake. So if you can actually fix whatever the problem is and you're willing to admit you're wrong, sometimes that's the best kind of response you can give to a 1-star review. Is basically, hey, the problem has been corrected. Thanks for pointing out. Like almost apologetic. That's how you can turn a 1-star review into something positive. And I've actually I had someone leave a 1-star review on one of my books, and I saw it was more of a technical thing that he wasn't understanding. So I wrote to him and said, hey, please email me and I'll help you out with this. The guy emailed me, we worked through it, and once it was done, it's like, hey, would you mind maybe editing your review or changing it? And he was actually, I was just asking him to put an update to it, and he actually just changed it from a 1-star to a 5-star. So sometimes also providing really good customer service can help with the review.
So that's like instant market research, there and then, sort of hardwired into the Kindle publishing platform. So you've got mainly 4 and 5-star reviews for all your books, of course. So I guess that's helped you to hone your process, hasn't it, over time?
Yeah, definitely. You do kind of learn what people want, and I've learned over the long haul kind of what Amazon readers want, because I feel they're a different kettle of fish. They will point out stuff that's wrong. They're not like other websites that have just like rude, mean, spammy comments, but these people, if they don't like something, they won't be afraid to tell you pretty much upfront, and they'll do it in really eloquent prose.
So is there a marked difference between Kindle ebook readers and perhaps readers of print books or books on other platforms?
I would say for nonfiction, that particular subsect, or at least the people that read my books, I think they want more actionable stuff. I guess would be a better way of describing it. I guess they don't want really a lengthy background of who you are and how you can help them. They want actually almost from the get-go how the actual content that can help them solve a particular problem. Obviously, it's a little bit of a different audience depending on what genre or niche that you're in. But I found, at least with the internet business stuff and with the habit stuff, that basically people want what's promised on the cover, and they want a step-by-step kind of strategy of how they can implement that particular technique into their lives.
What are some of the mistakes then that new ebook authors make? What do you advise not to do?
I would say a number of them. I would say first off is they try to publish a book on any topic that sells. And I know I did give the advice of you should research and find out what sells, but the mistake I see is they basically will pick 20 different niche topics. So they'll pick something from the health niche. They'll pick something from the dating niche or like the finance. And they'll just be all over the map, and they'll just basically publish because they feel that's what will sell. The problem is that a lot of times they don't have the authority to it. They think just doing a simple Google search will get them all the material they could possibly need. Whereas I feel that the days of being able to outsource a Kindle book really have gone by. I know some people did that successfully at first, but I feel that the market's matured enough where people want decent content. They don't want filler content. So I would recommend picking one particular topic, a topic that you're interested in, or you're willing to learn everything you can about that, or that you have obviously some authority, some experience with it, and focus on that one topic and publish lots of books in that particular topic. And that'll bring you lots of the sales where people will buy one book and they'll buy a bunch of other of your books. That's mistake number one. I would say mistake number two is some of the ebook covers they're awful. I would take the time to invest in actually having a good looking ebook cover, and I would take the time to invest in a good editor. So if you do the math, that's somewhere in the range of $250 to $300 just to get your work in the marketplace. And I know that's beyond the budget of some people, but I feel that's what you need to do to make your book stand out and sell well. I would say it's not really a mistake, but I would strongly encourage people to build a brand around their books as well. Don't just rely on Amazon to actually do the heavy lifting, because I feel ultimately a lot of the benefits of publishing on Amazon will eventually go away. Like, it's just going to be harder and harder to compete. But the people who can do well are the people who have a blog, who have a podcast, who have a YouTube channel, who have basically some sort of content published machine outside of Kindle books that they can go to that audience and promote their new the new book that they have. So I would say if you do all those couple of things well, you avoid a lot of the mistakes that people make when they first get started.
I guess that becoming a success at writing Kindle ebooks is the key to it is to keep writing and keep getting experience. I guess you've got to be persistent and work hard, like with anything else, to be successful. Yeah,
definitely. It is persistence. It is the daily habits of just getting up every day and doing stuff. And I've actually gotten emails say, "Hey, what's your sales secret?" I'm like, I don't know. Write more books. Write good books. Write more books. I don't really have any sort. I have a couple of little small tactics that I'd use, but my overarching strategy is just to put in the work or do the work, as Stephen Pressfield would say.
Okay. Well, just before we wrap up, you've given us some great information, really. It is like a step-by-step guide to how to write and publish your Amazon Kindle ebook. I recommend your blog. I'm on your list. As I said, I really enjoyed your ebook, How to Write 2,000 Words a Day. Where can we find your blog, and where can we find all your Kindle ebooks, please?
Sure. My blog is stevescottsite.com. I actually have two branches of Kindle books. The first one, the one you just mentioned, the Write 2,000 Words, that's actually under my Habits book line, and that's at habitbooks.com. And my Kindle books for internet business and Kindle publishing is Ebooks by stevescott.com.
Wait for it, listeners. Here comes the PS question.
Now, this is the part of the podcast I call the PS question, where I ask people for their expert tips on how to be better at content marketing, SEO, and in this case, writing Kindle ebooks. So could you perhaps share with us, please, Steve, one advanced strategy that really helped you to get a handle on this, to write better Kindle ebooks?
Well, I'll give a couple. First off, when you have a bunch of Kindle books, create a domain forwarding URL, what I just kind of did there with that habitbooks.com. So instead of saying go over to Amazon and find my book, you actually give them an actual web address that people can just go find them, and it automatically redirects to Amazon. And anytime you register a domain name, they have it's real simple. Just look for domain forwarding, and it's like a two-step process, and you basically put in your author address. Marketing strategy, I would say, kind of going back to the advanced strategy, going back to 99 cents, I feel that's been a game changer for me in the last couple of months. Is basically start a book at 99 cents and then use your list to launch it and get reviews. I would say those two have really helped me at least generate a good amount of sales over the last year or so.
Well, brilliant, Steve. Thank you very much indeed. They're great tips, and this has been a fantastic interview. I'm sure anyone listening could take this and run with it, as I'm probably going to do. This is probably the first podcast I've done, with a very few exceptions, where because I am a writer, probably going to just follow your advice to the letter and really give this a go. So thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, there we are, folks. That was session 13 of the Content Champion podcast. Thanks again to Steve Scott of stevescottsite.com for a fantastic interview. You can find the Content Champion podcast on our website and on iTunes, Stitcher Radio and the BlackBerry Network. But until next time...
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's the Content Champion.